Welcome. We got a fun one today. This is the Battle of the Philippine Sea, the largest carrier battle ever. Yes, it is time. This is part 1 of 2, it seems like, so we might have another fun video right after this. I saw this video and I knew I had to do it. It is World War II. This is the Pacific Theater. Glad you're here. Let's jump right in and see what the Battle of the Philippine Sea is all about. Because I don't know anything. That's my pre-context. Don't know anything about it besides what the title says. Let's go.
This video is sponsored by Enlisted, a free-to-play World War II multiplayer shooter. Enlisted has a deep focus on historical authenticity, with its accurate construct rifle PM 19th of June 1940. It's 7:30 AM on the morning of the 19th of June 1944. Aboard the modern Japanese aircraft carrier Taiho, Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa has received word that a reconnaissance aircraft has spotted a massive fleet of US warships 380 miles to the east.
And we'll pause real quick just to give another pre-context. This channel has focused so much more on like earlier history. So if you guys have any video suggestions on how to continue like the Pacific Theater of the World War II, I'd love to kind of like understand and get into that a little bit more. So a lot of this video is going to be me trying to soak up a lot of this information. So just wanted to also give you,
including 6 aircraft carriers. Intending to seize the initiative, Ozawa launches an airstrike he hopes will bring about the decisive victory that the Japanese military has been searching for since the Battle of Midway 2 years earlier. Buoyed by a confidence that they can turn the tide of the war, young Japanese naval aviators man their aircraft and begin launching off the carrier decks. To the southeast of the fleet is the American submarine USS Albacore, which has been silently watching the Japanese raiding force take off. The Pacific War has turned decisively against the Japanese. As part of the American island-hopping campaign, Japan's military might is being worn down in an attritional war. By early 1944, the United States is now moving against the Marianas Islands, the key to unlocking Japan's defensive perimeter in the Central Pacific. Not only would losing the islands of Guam, Tinian and Saipan mark a serious battlefield setback, it would also put the home islands within range of B-29 Super Fortress bombers.
Yeah, those big old things, crazy. Those things, we spent a lot of money, the United States, creating the B-29 program, more than the Manhattan Project. And yeah, if we're able to take these islands, unlimited bombing potential for the United States.
Thus, the Marianas are to be held at all costs. To counter the apparently imminent invasion, the Japanese naval leadership has formulated Operation Z, a plan to draw the American forces into a decisive battle where they can be crushed once and for all. When the American fleet arrives in the Central Pacific, the reformed Japanese mobile fleet under the command of Vice Admiral Ozawa will sail to meet the attack with nearly all of Imperial Japan's remaining warships, including 9 aircraft carriers.
9? We have 11, the United States does, I think, today in 2025. They had 9 back in 1944. I'm sure we had a lot too then. So the relevance factor is there.
Ozawa intends to use the 450 aircraft of his carrier arm, as well as 300 land-based aircraft in the Marianas, to strike the American fleet at what he considers its most vulnerable, when he believes it will be focused on defending the landing beaches. Furthermore, the easterly winds could give the Japanese a decisive advantage. Propeller-driven naval aircraft require a headwind in order to take off, meaning an aircraft carrier must be sailing into the wind to conduct air operations. Because the Japanese fleet will launch to the west of the Marianas, pointing east into the wind, Ozawa will have the initiative and positional advantage in the coming battle. The American fleet will be forced to steam away from their enemy when launching their own aircraft, stretching the range of any counterattack. This will also permit Ozawa to break off the battle at his discretion should he choose to do so. For the Americans, the plan to seize the Marianas is codenamed Operation Forager. Supporting Forager is the 5th Fleet, under the command of Admiral Raymond Spruance, the victor of the Battle of Midway. The core of Spruance's fleet is Task Force 58, the fast carrier force led by Vice Admiral Mark Fitscher, aboard his flagship, the carrier USS Lexington.
So, really learning about this, like I said, for the first time, I did not realize that they move in circular patterns, if that's true right here. That is crazy cool. So Task Force 58, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why does it jump from 4 to 7? Oh, interesting.
The 900 aircraft on 7 fleet carriers and 8 light carriers make Task Force 58 the most powerful naval force in the world at this point. After the first American carrier aircraft strike the Marianas on the 12th of June in preparation for the follow-up invasion, Japanese Combined Fleet Commander-in-Chief Admiral Toyoda authorizes Operation Z, now finalized as Operation Argo. He sends a message to every sailor and airman echoing the words of Admiral Togo before the Battle of Tsushima. The rise and fall of Imperial Japan depends on this one battle. Every man shall do his utmost. On the 15th of June, US Marines stormed the beaches of Saipan. Yet, much like the Battle of Midway, the Americans know what's coming. Following the death of Commander-in-Chief Isoroku Yamamoto, his replacement, Admiral Menichi Koga, was killed on the 31st of March when his aircraft crashed during a typhoon.
Dang, even in 1944, these storms just riddling everyone.
The documents carrying details of Operation Z washed ashore and were discovered by Filipino guerrillas, who then smuggled the information to the United States.
What a strand of luck! That's almost as lucky as, what was it? Whose battle plans was it? That Grant found in the Civil War.
Koga's successor, Admiral Toyoda, has not changed the central premise of the operation. Furthermore, the mobile fleet has been forced to anchor in Tawi-Tawi to be closer to the oil fields in Borneo due to the desperate fuel situation in Japan. This allows the Japanese Navy to remain operational, but the large Tawi-Tawi harbour is easily monitored by snooping American submarines. When the mobile fleet leaves on the 15th of June, the submarine USS Flying Fish shadows the enemy formations. Another unforeseen consequence arises from being close to the oil fields. With no facilities or time to remove impurities from the oil, Japanese ships are running on unrefined fuel, which
that's an interesting variable that I've never thought about is fuel efficiency. Dang.
which is far more volatile. This will lead to disaster in the coming battle. Having been alerted to the Japanese movement, Admiral Spruance is convinced that a major naval battle is at hand. Spruance and Pacific Fleet Commander-in-Chief Admiral Chester Nimitz agree to move Task Force 58 into the Philippine Sea to intercept the enemy fleet. Nimitz radios, "You and the officers and men under your command have the confidence of the naval services and the country. We count on you to make the victory decisive." However, Spruance emphasises to his subordinates that his primary orders are to defend the landing operations, not locate and destroy the enemy fleet. He fears the use of Japanese decoys to draw his fleet away from the invasion forces, leaving them open to attack. On the morning of the 19th of June, Japanese scout aircraft locate Task Force 58. With seemingly everything going his way, Admiral Ozawa launches his decisive battle. However, Ozawa is operating under a false assumption. He has been informed that the land-based aircraft at Guam are ready to play their part after scoring massive aerial victories over the Americans since the invasion began. Yet, reality could not be further from the truth. Japanese fighters lost 35 of their own compared to a single American aircraft over Guam on the morning of the 19th of June alone.
That is an insane ratio.
Furthermore, an overzealous subordinate has already ordered the air group from the carriers Chitose, Chiyoda, and Zuiho to head east towards the American fleet.
I'm wondering, what is as I learn more about this, what are the primary fighters on each side? I know the Zero, I would think the Zero is the primary fighter on the Japanese front, and maybe the Mustang on the American front. Don't know, but that's just a random guess.
They set off without waiting for the rest of the strike aircraft. As the rest of the Japanese raiding force is taking off and forming up, Commander Blanchard aboard the USS Albacore decides to launch his attack. He is in perfect position to strike Ozawa's flagship, Taiho, and orders the weapons officer to prepare a firing solution.
Torpedoes?
However, the targeting computer fails to come up with a solution. Knowing it's now or never, Blanchard fires a spread of 6 torpedoes by eye at 9:09 am, and then orders the Albacore to dive deep. Despite the targeting difficulties, 2 of the torpedoes track right towards Taiho. Warrant Officer Seiko Komatsu has just lifted off the flight deck in a JIL torpedo bomber when he spots the incoming torpedoes. Without any hesitation, he swings his aircraft around and dives straight into one of the torpedoes.
What? Oh my god. When you say, one thing that you gotta say about the Japanese at this point, they will exceed expectations for dying for your country. You can just say the same for the kamikaze attacks. But this is unbelievable because there is no, the kill-death ratio for you doing that is 0-1. It's not like you, I guess the best thing you can say from this is you saved, but the accuracy, you could have missed and you still died. Oh my goodness, that's insane.
Sacrificing himself to destroy it.
But
however, the second torpedo slams into Taiho's starboard side near the forward fuel tanks, rupturing fuel lines and jamming the forward aircraft elevator. Despite the hit, there are no fires, and the damage control officers insist that the carrier can continue flight operations.
Wow, so that was a good sacrifice, I guess, then. Wow, that's insane.
However, with fuel vapor now filling the ship from the ruptured fuel lines, Taiho, the newest and most modern carrier in the Japanese Navy, is now a ticking time bomb.
Oh.
While Taiho's crew attempts to contain the damage, the first strike group is heading east to attack the American task force. At 9:57 am, the battleship USS Alabama picks up the enemy
USS Alabama, bruh. I only do that because that's where I live, Alabama. And I've seen the USS Alabama several times. It's in the Mobile Bay. It's literally just chilling there. It's rusting out there in Mobile Bay. If you want to see the USS Alabama, it's in Mobile Bay. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Aircraft on radar. After the incoming raid is confirmed, Admiral Mitcher orders the task force to transmit "Hey Rube" to the fighter directors, the code phrase warning of an imminent enemy attack. At 10:10 am, Task Force 58 is given the order to launch all available fighters, and the carriers turn into the wind. Mitcher orders any fueled up and armed bombers to launch as well to prevent them from being caught in their hangars. The combat air patrol of 82 Hellcats fly west to meet the Japanese raid head-on.
Okay, so they're called Hellcats. Okay.
While 140 more fighters take off and form up. The bombers are ordered to take position to the east and orbit until it is safe for them to return to the carriers. The first Japanese wave of 69 aircraft, mostly comprised of fighter bombers, is 72 miles from Task Force 58 when its inexperienced commander makes a critical mistake. Rather than close the distance and hit the American fleet before more fighters can launch, the strike group starts to orbit while the commander briefs his young flyers and allows the formation to reform after the crews from the carriers. During this time, the large formation of Hellcats takes station between 17,000 and 24,000 feet to await their enemy before the Japanese get underway again. At 10:25 am, the 8 fighters of VF-15 from the USS Essex are the first to spot the incoming attackers.
Jeez, look at that. My god.
Led by Commander Charles Brewer and Lieutenant J.R. Carr, VF-15's Hellcats pounce on the unsuspecting Japanese raiders. Diving from high above, the American fighters slash through the enemy formation, causing it to break apart as panicked Japanese flyers attempt to evade. Brewer picks out the formation leader, a Zero, and closes to 800 feet before squeezing the trigger. The Japanese aircraft explodes in mid-air, and Brewer moves on to another Zero, peppering the fighter with his .50 caliber machine guns, which sets the wing on fire. Seconds later, he downs another enemy fighter before he is finally forced into a dogfight by a fourth Zero.
Jeez.
Commander Brewer uses his superior maneuverability to get behind the Zero, which attempts several barrel rolls to escape. It's no use against the agile Hellcat, as Brewer fires and sends the aircraft into the sea. During the interception, Brewer and his wingman attack 8 enemy aircraft and down all of them.
Wow.
Lieutenant Carr does even better, shooting down 5 and becoming a flying ace in a matter of minutes. This pattern is repeated across the formation as Hellcats swarmed the overwhelmed Japanese attackers. In 1941, the Japanese Zero was widely regarded as one of the best fighters in the world.
How technology can just elevate throughout a war period. You can just use the same methodology for how World War I advanced from trench warfare to technological, for good or for not, growth in that regard. And now, in the same sense, seeing technological growth in the air front.
But 3 years later, it is inferior to the newest generation of American combat aircraft.
Crazy.
Within minutes, the first raid breaks up into isolated formations before the enemy pilots have sighted a single American warship. Despite their horrendous losses, several Japanese aircraft do slip through the fighter screen and attack Task Force 58's battleships and cruisers at 10:48 am. Braving intense anti-aircraft fire, a Zero drops a bomb and scores a direct hit on the USS South Dakota, killing 27 men but causing insignificant damage to the battleship. More Japanese aircraft attack, with one causing slight damage to the USS Minneapolis from a near miss. These will be the only successful attacks on American vessels during the entire battle.
Wow.
Task Force 58's defences are too strong, and the remaining Japanese aircraft break off to retreat to Japanese-held Guam or their home carriers. By 10:57 am, American radar screens are clear. Only 27 of the 69 raiders are able to limp back to base. 10 minutes later, Lexington's radar detects the second Japanese raid. This is Admiral Ozawa's main effort of 107 aircraft.
Okay, they got a force.
Led by Lieutenant Commander Akira Tarui. When the Japanese are within 70 miles of Task Force 58, they once again orbit to receive a briefing from Lieutenant Commander Tarui. Aboard Lexington, Lieutenant Charles Sims is a Japanese language expert who listens in on Tarui's briefing and passes it on to the fighter directors. By the time the second wave is ready for its attack, the American Combat Air Patrol has again gained a decisive altitude advantage, the pilots eagerly awaiting the unsuspecting Japanese.
Way the air ambush. I'm sure you guys can imagine that Japan probably seeing similar things, but I don't know. Are they? It's twice now that they've lost the elevation game.
10 Hellcats from Essex are the first to greet the raid at 11:39 am when it is 45 minutes out. Commander David McCampbell takes 6 fighters and dives into a formation of Judy dive bombers. McCampbell, soon to become the US Navy's leading ace of the war with 34 kills, destroys one Judy after another. He later notes that the inexperienced Japanese flyers did not take many evasive actions.
No, it don't look like that within this animation. It looks like they're just chilling.
Faced with so many easy targets, McCampbell scores 5 kills before he runs out of ammunition.
He ran out of ammunition. That's insane.
Incredibly, another pilot, Lieutenant Alexander Vorashu, racks up a further 6 enemy aircraft shot down.
Jeez.
When Vorashu later lands back on Lexington and holds up 6 fingers, Admiral Mitcher poses for a photo with the young pilot, remarking, "This is not for publication, it's to keep for myself." Hellcats attack the Japanese formation from every angle, as one enemy aircraft after another is shot out of the sky. By the time the attackers reach the carriers of Task Force 58, only about 20 are left.
They took 87 down?
Nonetheless, these last few Japanese aircraft launch a doomed attack on the American warships. 3 Jill torpedo bombers head for the carrier USS Enterprise, and one survives long enough to drop its payload. The torpedo barely misses and explodes in the carrier's wake. Wasp, Princeton, and Bunker Hill also suffer near misses from dive bombers, which cause negligible damage.
Wow.
To demonstrate the futility of these attacks, a weapons officer on the USS San Francisco suffers a scratch on his finger and holds it up to his gun crews to see. The bastards have finally drawn blood, shoot
Oh my god, bro pulled a Thanos.
them down.
You know.
The second and largest Japanese raid of the day is decimated, with only 10 of the original 107 aircraft surviving the onslaught.
And those aren't just aircraft, those are pilots. And pilots that are good are hard to come by at this point.
Task Force 58's radar screens will be clear of enemy aircraft by 12:15 PM. By this time, Ozawa's force has accelerated 60 miles ahead of the USS Albacore, when it stumbles upon another lurking submarine, USS Kavala. Commander Herm Kostler raises the periscope and spots the carrier Shikaku, recovering aircraft directly in front of his vessel. He later writes, "The picture was too good to be true." Kavala fires a spread of 5 torpedoes at Shikaku before diving to avoid detection. At 20 minutes past noon, 4 of the torpedoes impact Shikaku's starboard side. The carrier, one of the only 2 remaining from the attack on Pearl Harbor, quickly falls out of formation, while secondary detonations ravage the ship. Her damage control teams try in vain to put out the fires, but the unrefined fuel from Borneo is ravenously devoured by flames. Just after 3 PM, Shikaku explodes and sinks, taking 1,263 men with her to the bottom. Commander Kostler radios, "Believe that baby sank," to Vice Admiral Charles Lockwood, the Pacific Submarine Fleet commander. Lockwood radios back, "Beautiful work, Kavala. 1 carrier down, 8 more to go." The Americans do not have to wait long for their next victim. Aboard Taiho, the smell of fuel vapor permeates the ship after the earlier torpedo hits. The inexperienced damage control officer decides to put the carrier's ventilation system on full blast in the hope the vapors will dissipate. Instead, this action seals the ship's fate by spreading the vapors throughout the entire vessel.
Oh goodness.
Just half an hour after Shikaku sank, the deadly fumes are ignited by an electric generator, and a massive explosion blows aircraft carrier Taiho to smithereens.
So that original hit mattered enough to where so that was a lethal hit by the original.
Her revolutionary armoured flight deck bulges upwards as flames consume the hangar bay. Admiral Ozawa initially decides to go down with his doomed flagship, but is persuaded by his subordinates to transfer to the cruiser Haguro, which is
like, bro, you don't have to go down with your ship, that's not like a rule or anything, right? You can get on the boat.
less capable of communicating with the rest of the mobile fleet. Taiho, pride of the Japanese carrier arm, will burn for another 3 hours before sinking, and 1,650 men are killed.
Dang.
Back at the American
3 hours? How did that many people die if it was 3, unless they were trapped? 3 hours? No safe? Nobody saved them?
fleet, at 12:55 PM, a third Japanese raid of 47 aircraft arrive overhead, but fail to spot the American carriers.
Oh goodness.
10 minutes later, Hellcats from USS Hornet jump the formation, and another dogfight develops. During the melee, a Zero manages to find the USS Essex and attack, but its bomb misses. With the other Japanese aircraft still unable to locate Task Force 58's carriers, the attackers turn back and abort the mission. This wave is lucky, only 7 are shot down by the marauding Hellcats.
That's crazy.
During the battle above Task Force 58, the bombers which had been hurriedly launched to clear the carrier decks have been loitering to the east. Frustrated and bored, some squadron commanders decide to attack the Japanese airfields on Guam to pass the time.
We got nothing else to do, why don't we just bomb these airfields?
Lieutenant Commander Ralph Weymouth leads over 30 bombers from Enterprise and Lexington, along with a fighter escort of 10 Hellcats, to Orote Airfield in Guam. Weymouth has not been given this order and is acting on his own volition.
Could you get court-martialed for that? Or, depending on how it goes, are you court-martialed?
The Dauntless dive bombers and bomb-armed Avenger torpedo bombers give the airfield a good going over, cratering the runway and destroying aviation fuel stocks. When Weymouth later lands back on Lexington, he expects to be reprimanded for his unauthorized action. Instead, his superiors are delighted by his initiative, and the rest of the orbiting
See, that doesn't always happen. It's a gamble.
Bombers are sent to bomb Japanese airfields during the afternoon. At 1:30 p.m, the fourth and final Japanese raid of the day is detected on radar by Task Force 58. However, like the last raid,
can y'all not fly in a straight line?
The 82 Japanese aircraft are unable to spot the American fleet. The formation breaks up, with some heading back to the carriers and others to the Mariana Islands. One of the groups, attempting to make it home, instead stumbles upon Task Force 58.
Oof.
The 27 Japanese aircraft are again jumped by Hellcats and attempt to attack the carriers Wasp and Bunker Hill. 9 Judy dive bombers slip through the fighter screen, but score no hits, with Hellcats along with anti-aircraft fire bringing down 8 of the attackers. A larger group of 49 Japanese aircraft attempts to land on Guam, but are ambushed by American fighters led by Commander McCampbell. In the ensuing dogfight, 30 are lost, while McCampbell adds another 2 kills to his record, giving him 7 for the day. Only 2 Hellcats are shot down over the airfield. By 6:45 p.m, combat has ended for the worst day in the history of Japanese naval aviation.
Yeah, this looks like, oh my god, can you say air superiority and naval superiority? And it's all had to do with that initial, intelligence within our submarine, and then basically shadowing them. Then that one torpedo that did hit stayed with it. 2 carriers went down. That's a huge deal. That's a huge
Aboard
deal.
Lexington, one Hellcat pilot exclaims to another, "Why hell, it was just like an old-time turkey shoot down home." The name sticks, and the first day of the battle on the 19th of June will be remembered as the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. In just 12 hours, the Japanese have lost 316 aircraft, with all but 41 of them brought down by American fighters.
Yeah, one of them, of course, sacrificed himself.
Many of the survivors limp back to their carrier or airfield, with badly damaged aircraft incapable of flying again. In contrast, Task Force 58 has lost only 31 aircraft, and retains the bulk of its offensive punch. Admiral Mitcher now intends to use his overwhelming air power to land a knockout blow the following day. This will be covered in Part
2, which we'll definitely do soon. Guys, insane. And I'm wondering if more Zeros got through, more Japanese aircraft got through the initial dogfights, what would have happened? There would have been more torpedoes, there would have been more dive bombing, possibly. There could have been kamikaze attacks. So those American Hellcats did their thing. Wow, I've never seen this before, never heard of this before. And that's a shame. That's a shame. It's a damn shame. But love the video. Great video. Go make sure you guys subscribe to them. Original video will be in the description, of course. I will see you guys next time in Part 2. Until next time, peace out. Have a great day. Bye-bye.